One of the things I love about this Godzilla is its size and its scale. Get it? Scale? Like scales? Because it's a lizard. Hello everyone, it is Briximus Prime, back at it again for another action figure video, and today we're going to be taking a look at the NECA Godzilla 2014 Godzilla figure. And just getting right on into the packaging, this is definitely the type of packaging that NECA used to have back in the day, where it was just a giant plastic clamshell. Nowadays they kind of go for more cardboard packaging, but right here it says Godzilla, ages 14 and up. And as you can see, I paid $40 for this at a convention. It's got an image of Godzilla there on the back, and it says, you know, Godzilla right there on his packaging. And then here on the back just has a bio and a rundown of the character right there. And obviously you can see it's got like the NECA logo, Warner Brothers Legendary Pictures. So yeah, that is pretty much it. So let's just get right on into the figure. But before we get into the actual figure itself, let's take a look at the figure's accessories. There are no accessories.
Oh no, this is horrible!
We're kind of getting into the Godzilla figure himself a little prematurely, but that's just because, you know, there's no accessories to really, you know, talk about. So, looking at Godzilla himself here, he looks pretty good. I like his... I think it looks very well painted. He does have a painted-in mouth. Sadly, though, that is as far as his mouth can open, so you can't really admire all of the details in his mouth, though I would have appreciated his mouth to open a little wider. Or his mouth opening a little wider probably could have encouraged maybe an atomic breath part to have come with him.
Horrible.
And also I love the amount of paint used here on the eyes and the teeth. Nothing looks too messily painted. And also the scales and all the molding and sculpting on this guy looks fantastic. The neck looks really good. I love this like glossy finish here on him. He kind of goes from a glossy and kind of blends into almost a matte finish throughout the rest of the figure. And again, NECA does a really good job at sculpting in fine details such as this. It's just sometimes their paintwork can get a little sloppy, so that's why this figure in particular is really right up their alley. And of course, all of the spines and everything are also sculpted in very well. Would have liked maybe just a little bit of paint, just lightly brushed over them just to give them a little bit of depth. But honestly, it's nothing too big to complain about. I like his arms here. He does have a slight black glossy paint there on his nails just to make them slightly different than the rest of the figure. So his nails look all fabulous.
Don't do that again.
And then, of course, good old Godzilla Grundle. And just overall, pretty nice sculpted details. Again, some slightly brownish looking glossy paint there on his toes, just giving his toe claws just a little bit of difference between the claws and the actual glossy plastic and paint of the actual figure. And then, as we get down to the tail, he's got some very nice spines going all the way down, even right down to the tip of the tail. Again, very, very nice molding and sculpting. NECA always does an amazing job when it comes to their sculpt work, and this guy is no exception. No matter what some people say, I've always loved the Godzilla 2014 design, and it's always just been one of my definitive Godzillas in my mind. I still love 1954 Godzilla and all the other interpretations of him, but this is just the one that kind of introduced me to the concept and the character of Godzilla in the first place, and then I obviously learned more about the character later on. So I am just a little bit biased toward this figure as well, even with his weak posability. Getting into Gojira's posability, he has that previously mentioned hinge joint at the mouth, which doesn't bend a whole lot. Would have liked a little bit more expressiveness out of it, but thankfully there is still something there. So he's got a ball joint at the top of the head and one at the base of the neck, which allows for the head to shift up and down, as you can see. It allows for all kinds of movement. It allows for his head to swivel from side to side as well. Sadly, because of the spines, he just can't look up very far, and because of the way how it's sculpted, he can't really look down very far. So sadly, not really that much SH Monster Arts kind of articulation here, but there is still something there. Shoulders can rotate a full 360. They can move in and out slightly and a little bit of a swivel. He has a swivel at the elbow and he has a bend at the elbow. As you can see, his arms can bend at roughly 90 degrees and they can bend at downward. He also has a ball joint at the wrist, which allows for his wrists to hinge up and down, swivel all over the place. So again, some nice articulation there in his arms. And then his hips have ball joints, which allows for them to rotate a full 360. They can move in and out ever so slightly, but it is just very, very slightly. Nothing much out of there to get. He does have a knee swivel. He has a bend at the knee, but obviously it is very weak because this guy doesn't really do a whole lot of running. Oh, hey, would you look at that? And then he has a ball joint at the ankle, which allows for some very slight pivoting, some swiveling, moving up and down, and not that much. He has peg holes at the bottom of his feet, but I find them quite useless because he's always planted firmly on the ground, not really doing anything, so I don't really see the reason to have peg holes. And then at his tail, he's got a ball joint here, ball joint here, ball joint here, ball joint here, and then as soon as you get to here, the rest of his tail is movable through a very stiff bendy wire. And honestly, the bendy wire is not as bendy as I wanted it to, but it does make his tail poses look that little bit more natural. It's just a little too stiff of plastic that you have to move for my taste, but it still is there. By the way, I should also mention the sculpting here and the plastic. The plastic here is actually pretty stiff and really hard, so holding him actually does hurt.
You gotta man up. You gotta man up to play with your Godzilla toy.
Thanks, Jobby, for reminding me. Now, sadly, this is my first Godzilla action figure in my collection, so I don't really have anything to really compare him with. Well, I mean, I do have this old NECA Godzilla child's toy that I had. This is one of my original childhood toys growing up. Though the thing is, I have no idea where to source it. I have no idea what this is from. I don't know if it's just some generic toy thing or if it's actually from some kind of show or interpretation or manga, comic. I have no idea. Leave it down in the comments if you know, but to my knowledge, it was just a fun childhood toy. He even made little noises and such. Okay, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, that's enough out of you, shut up! Here he is next to another Legendary Pictures IP. Here he is with the, Gypsy Danger from Pacific Rim. And, yeah, I'll definitely get around to reviewing that at some point. And then here he is with my previous NECA review, the Disney's Gargoyles figures. The reason why there's only a JPEG of them is because those aren't actually my figures, so I don't have them on hand to actually show off. But I did previously review those figures before. And yeah, that is basically it for my review on the 2014 Godzilla figure. And I think he's a pretty good action figure from the North American Entertainment Collectibles Association, also known as NECA. And yeah, I think he's pretty well done. It's just the only problem is because of his very limited posability, you only ever really have him in static poses. You can't really do or play around with anything else. Like, I had a hard time actually trying to find good poses to pose this guy around in besides him just standing there, which, I mean, that really is the reason why you're buying the figure. All he really is doing is just standing there, but I would have liked at least a little bit more playability and variety of things to do with him. Yeah, overall, I say he's a pretty good figure. I think he was worth the money. My biggest complaint with the figure, besides the posability, like I mentioned before, is the lack of accessories. You probably could have made me feel a little bit better about the figure if you at least made his jaw open up a little bit more, gave him an atomic breath, or I just feel a little bit cheated out of getting a really good Godzilla figure. But then again, if I really, really wanted the best Godzilla figure you can buy, I might as well should have just gone for an SH Monster Arts at that point. And yeah, that is basically it for my thoughts on the figure. So if you guys enjoyed this brief review, give me a like on the video, comment below what you guys think, subscribe to the channel for more Transformers and action figure videos, and I'll catch you guys next time.